Agenda items. This is the last meeting of our Exec Director for Housing and Regeneration, Phil Cresswell, who's moving on to pasture new. Phil, on behalf of the Cabinet, can I thank you for all the work that you have done since you've been here. There's a lot on your plate, but you've handled it and you've taken your team with you, and a lot of what you do is public facing, and I think residents really do see the tangibles of everything that you have done and the leadership that you've shown in your directorate. So thank you, and genuinely, don't be a stranger. You're part of the Hanser family, whether you like it or not, and don't be a stranger. Did you want to say anything?
Yeah, just to say thank you for those kind words, Leader. Thank you, Chair. It's been an absolute privilege to serve Hounslow for the period that I have. Kay and I did a little bit of totting up earlier on, and in the period that I've worked here, we've taken 28 reports through Cabinet. So I'd just like to thank you. I'd like to thank Cabinet, and I'd like to thank all members for their patience with me and my team as we've developed the solutions and opportunities that we've taken through. And clearly, there's lots more to come once I've left. So just want to put my sincere thanks on record. It's been a difficult decision to leave, and I've thoroughly enjoyed every minute of working here. So thank you very much.
You will be missed. Thank you very much, Phil. Okay, we'll move on to the first agenda item, which is the minutes of the meeting held on 14th of October. I'll take them page by page for accuracy and matters arising. Page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, and page 12. Colleagues, are you happy for me to sign those minutes? Agreed. Thank you very much. So we do move to the first exciting item on our agenda, which is agenda item 3, Brentford Police Station and Albany Riverside progress update. Councillor Bruce.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Bruce, Cabinet Member for Assets, Regeneration and Development, and Deputy Leader of the Council. Indeed, Leader, this is very exciting developments on Albany Riverside and the former police station site in Brentford. I know this has been talked about quite significantly in the local community for a number of years, not least when we were able to get, or permission I should say, not we, but permission was granted for the redevelopment, and then sadly, as we all know, that hasn't materialised and hasn't come forward in the way that we would have liked it to have done, and it's sat. The police station has sat there empty and vacant and ripe for something to happen with it for the past few years. So really exciting that we are able to move this forward this evening, or hopefully with Cabinet's approval we can move this forward this evening. We have that substantive permission from a few years ago, but this Cabinet report asks for almost £1.5 million, because we are going to need to do some serious work in some design changes to make it absolutely fit for purpose in order to get the viability right and to bring it forward. Along with that site, we obviously have connected to it the Waterman's site, which again has had a sad time in the last few months, and we are all, the council and the local community, are all sad that of what has happened to that building and the way it has finished. But we know that ultimately it wasn't fit for purpose, and it did need to come forward. And our plans were to look at how we would move our cultural and arts facility into a new place, and that's what this report brings forward. So I'm giving a bit of an update. This report is giving a bit of an update on exactly where we are, talking about the strategy the asset strategy for the Riverside site, what people would know as Waterman's, asking for the budget in order to do that redevelopment. And particularly what's key to this is our very advanced and significant talks with a housing provider, which is going to be the key to unlock all of this, bringing them on board and working with them in the last few months and continuing to work in the next few months will be the key to making sure that this progresses into the into the next stages, I should say, where we will be able to announce who they are, where we will be able to bring back, and we will bring back in front of Cabinet the final plans and ask Cabinet for final agreement for all this work to happen. So we're in that sort of middle phase here. We're asking for the approval for the next stage and for us to move forward in delivering something positive on both those sites that we're talking about, and significantly talking about and moving forward with the future of arts and culture in Brentford. I know there is a lot of talk, and quite rightly in Brentford, about what is happening to arts and leisure in Brentford at the moment. I want to put on record this evening, and I will continue to say this, and I've said this previously, that this council, the lead member sitting around this table, myself, I know the leader as well, and Councillor Sheen will speak, I'm sure, in a moment, that we are committed to continuing to deliver arts and culture in Brentford and to delivering leisure in Brentford. That is our commitment. These things are not easy, and difficult decisions have been made and will continue to be made in order to make sure that that is fit for purpose going forward. But I absolutely continue to commit that arts and leisure, arts and culture, that leisure, that those sort of fundamentals that I believe form part of a thriving borough will be key to Brentford going forward and will be key to the rest of the borough as well. So I'm very happy tonight, Leader, and I move this report.
Thank you, Councillor Bruce. Councillor Sheen, you're going to second?
Yes, thank you very much. Councillor Salman Shaheen, Cabinet Member for Culture, Leisure and Public Spaces. I will second this report and I will speak on it because at last we can finally say something, and that is a fantastic weight, I think, off all our minds to be able to say that we've made phenomenal progress on this, that we are unlocking progress, that we now expect to be starting work on a new arts centre and housing scheme for Brentford next year, in spring or summer next year. And it goes without saying that, as Councillor Bruce has already talked about, the delay after delay that we faced on this site, the setback after setback, it's been a perfect storm of crises that we've seen, from the pandemic to the war in Ukraine to Liz Truss to the economic headwinds that we faced, seeing Peabody pull out as a housing provider on that site, seeing Hounslow Arts Trust pull out of Waterman, citing financial difficulties and uncertainties as well of the old Waterman site, and leaving Brentford without an arts centre, leaving a vacuum for culture in Brentford, just at a time when we're beginning to launch our new culture strategy, just at a time when we want to see a new holistic, joined up vision for culture across the borough, in which I firmly believe Brentford is a key part in that. Brentford is a jewel in that crown, and it has so many of those elements all together as playing a key role in culture in our borough, and yet we'd lost our arts centre. So this is our commitment to build a new arts centre. It's absolutely going to be going ahead now. This paper unlocks the progress that we need to, that funding commitment that we need, the planning changes that we need. It also sets out, as Councillor Bruce says, that we are in advanced talks with a new housing provider, and that this paper, once passed, I hope will be able to bring forward the progress that we need to begin that work on the new arts centre in spring or summer next year. And I think it's going to be so important for the future of culture in our borough to do so. And of course, you know, we know that the closure of the old Waterman's Arts Centre left us without an arts centre in Brentford until the construction of the new one. And for that reason, as we discussed, we are working with new providers, with new groups within the community who have arisen passionately and absolutely rightly so around the closure of Waterman's to want to bring about new offerings. And we're actively working with groups in the community to look at whether we can use other buildings, other sites out there in Brentford to provide meanwhile use and temporary arts centre while we work on the construction of the new one. But I hope this paper can be seen in the light that it should be, which is our firmest possible commitment to building that new arts centre and unlocking the progress that we would hope to see next year.
Thank you, Councillor Sheen. So it's been moved and seconded. It's now open for discussion and debate. Anybody want to say anything? Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Councillor Shantini. Just a couple of points. As I think as Councillor Bruce said, there was real, I think, confusion and anger and frustration and sadness when it was announced very suddenly last year that Waterman's was closing. I'm delighted to read in the report that we're having positive talks with a new delivery partner. I suppose I'm being a bit cynical here. We were having positive talks a year ago, and they all went a bit pear-shaped, didn't they? So my question, I suppose, first question is, what confidence do you have that this time we're going to get the deal signed by, next year, as the report says? And also, I suppose, as a wider point, and maybe it's too early to ask this, but across the country, arts are struggling. Arts centres, theatres, museums, they're having a really hard time for a host of reasons that Councillor Shaheen just mentioned earlier. Have we begun to give thought to how we make this centre viable and feasible, so we don't end up when, in a few years' time, out of the blue, whoever ends up running it is in the same mess, if I'm honest with you, that the Arts Trust were 12 months ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Bruce will take that all up in summing up, I think. Anybody else want to say anything on this? No, can't see anyone indicating. Councillor Bruce, do you want to sum up?
I'll sum up now then. Councillor Sheen wants to take the second bit about the provision. I'll talk about the first bit. I mean, the reality is, until it's signed on the dotted line and I bring that back to Cabinet and it's approved, it's not a done deal. I mean, I can't, sugarcoat it. I can't sugarcoat it, but I feel very strongly that this is, as much as I can be at the moment, going to work. I mean, it's one of those things, isn't it? And as I say, until we're signed on the dotted line and until we've given it approval and until there's a spade in the ground, even perhaps, sometimes that's the next stage, isn't it? Maybe even until it's fully built and, we're in. It can't be, 100%. But this is very exciting, and we are in advanced talks, and we do think that I'm full of confidence that this is going to be these are going to come to fruition, and we're able to announce this in the spring term. So without giving 100% guarantee, I'll give my strongest, firmest commitment that this is something that's going to happen.
Councillor Sheen, do you want to address the second point?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Thompson, for the question. I think, really, in my mind, it's a simple factor of economics. If you build an arts centre in which you can hold events that people actually want to come and see, then it will pay for itself. If you and our part of that is to make sure that we are providing an arts centre that is kitted out, that is a state-of-the-art, world-class arts centre that's kitted out to be able to host the kind of events that we would want to see coming into an area which is absolutely thriving. I mean, you think about Brentford now, it's got a burgeoning population, increasing by around a third. It's got a new high street, new shops, new restaurants. It's got museums. It's got a renovated historic house. It's got Gunnersbury Park bringing in world-class acts. And people really are coming from across London and actually further to Brentford now, not forgetting that we've got a Premier League football club as well. Brentford is on the map, both within London and within the United Kingdom. So if we can build a place that can host the events that people want to come and see, and that means an auditorium that can fit hundreds of people in, and that means consulting with the community and working out what people will actually want to come and see. And I'm thinking here about top class comedians, musical acts, genuinely engaging theatre that people will come out and pay money to see. That's how you make an arts centre sustainable, and that would be my hope for this new centre.
And I thought I was the funniest guy you knew. Councillor Bruce, do you want to finish summing up?
Yeah, so just to... Lily Bath is telling a joke. To finish summing up, I just wanted to acknowledge the work of Phil Cresswell here as we're, saying goodbye to him today or very soon. And just to say him and his team are working extremely hard on bringing this forward, and just to acknowledge, I think you said 28 reports, and this is one of the final ones. But what a moment to leave on, and to hopefully we'll be able to give you some good news in spring that all your hard work has come forward in something that we're actually able to deliver. So that's absolutely my hope for this, and very positive it feels at the moment too. So thank you, Leader.
Good. It's been moved and seconded and debated. The recommendations on this report are on page 14, 1 to 5. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much. So from Brentford, we then go to Cranford, another very exciting report on our new community hub there. Councillor Ajmer-Garawal, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Ajmer-Garawal, resident support, communities and equalities is my portfolio. First of all, I just want to apologise for my lateness, and secondly, for my croaky voice. It's that time of the year. And if I do croak a bit more, forgive me. Okay, as part of its localities approach, the council is providing local places where residents can access services from the council and its partners. Cranford Meadowbank Community Hub will deliver a flexible space providing information, advice, guidance and activities to meet the needs of Hounslow residents, including an enhanced library and existing adult education services. This is part of the broader rollout of the community hubs across the borough over the next 6 to 9 months as part of improving the resident experience and accessibility. This localities approach is embedding essential services within local communities. It is proposed that an investment of 460k is allocated for design, refurbishment, relocation of services and decommissioning of the current library site. There will be a cost avoidance of 460k and for the current site and an estimated 30,000 in annual savings. An options appraisal will be conducted on the current Cranford Library site to determine potential future uses. Any final proposal for the site will, of course, be presented to the Cabinet for approval. Local residents have provided ideas and suggestions as part of a recent engagement to shape what the community hub should include. And there's a full report of that as an appendix on the Cabinet report. The Cranford Meadowbank Community Hub reflects the Council's commitment to tackling inequality by providing better access to local services tailored to the area, whilst making best use of buildings for communities. The hub is designed as a modern, adaptable facility that meets the evolving needs of the Cranford community, using resident input, data, and insight to shape the offers. Subject to the completion of design and refurbishment work, the hub is anticipated to launch in July 2025. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Garawal. Councillor Sheen, you seconding?
I am indeed seconding, and thank you, Councillor Garawal, for bringing this forward. I'd like to say a little bit about how important Hounslow's libraries are to us and our residents. We've just seen ONS data come out that shows that Hounslow has some of the very best library access in this country, and that's absolutely not going to change. And that's the most important thing to say about this. While there are some councils out there across the country that are closing their libraries, Hounslow's not. Hounslow is enhancing its libraries. This will lead to enhanced library provision, an expanded children's library in Meadowbank, along with all the other services that residents rely on most, creating a much better offer for our residents. And I think this really secures the future of Cranford Library going forward for a long time to come. And I welcome this new and creative proposal that really allows us to make the very best use of our assets, give the very best service to our residents, and ensure a future for our treasured library assets. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sheen. It's been moved and seconded. It's now open for discussion and debate. Councillor Bruce.
Thank you very much. Yeah, just to support what's been said already and the recommendations that come from the report, but I particularly want to make a note and highlight Cabinet recommendation number 5 in the Cabinet report, that a full options appraisal following the process outlined in the recently approved asset management strategy will be undertaken on the existing Cranford Library. So part of this process is about using our asset management strategy that we approved earlier this year in helping to achieve this move. A lot of work clearly has gone on in the service, and that's, you know, formed a very important part of this. But underpinning all that is our asset management strategy and our focus on not just for these 2 buildings, but right across the borough, about how we're using our assets. And when we decided to make this move, or hopefully agreeing to this today to be open in the summer, we will look very closely at then the asset that is left and make a decision and make some decisions about what the future of that site can be. And everything is on the table for that. And we're very clear that what we want to do is look at the best use of our buildings for the needs of the community, and that will form absolutely, that's principle number one that we want to be focusing on. So I can assure people that no decision will be taken quickly, but decisions will be taken in the best interest of residents at an appropriate time. But this is a very exciting opportunity. It's, you know, it is a move of one service from one building into another, but it starts to demonstrate how the asset management strategy is going to work, not just in principle, but actually in practice. And that's what I am hopeful, and I am very confident we will see in the next few months and few years on other areas, in other areas, and on other buildings, and making sure that we are utilising the property that we have within the council portfolio in the best possible way, as I said, about a number one principle, for the best benefit of residents. So good work, everybody involved in this.
Thanks, Councillor Bruce. Councillor Dunn.
Councillor Catherine Dunn, Cabinet Member for Climate, Environment and Transport. Thank you, Chair. Councillor Gurwal, yes, really just want to say how much I support this report and thank you for bringing it. I think you're doing exactly the right thing. We've got an absolutely fantastic facility at Meadowbank. I've been there and seen it in action, and there's lots of wonderful stuff happening there in terms of adult education. But I did note on that visit that it was, you know, underused in some way, and I think that relocating the library and therefore making the best use of what is a top-class facility and hopefully making even more improvements to it is absolutely the right thing to do. And I think we're going to use it in so many new ways that make the best use of it, which is, you know, exactly what we have to do. As Councillor Bruce has said, given the situation that we're in, but also it's going to provide a really good service for our residents, and that's what it's all about.
Thank you, Councillor Dunn. Anyone else? Yeah, I mean, just echoing the points made by Councillor Dunn and Councillor Bruce and you, Councillor Sheen, in your introduction. I think this really demonstrates our keenness to invest in Cranford, an area that we know through our EDI work and through other work that we've been doing will benefit from a much more localities-based operation where services are where residents need them, where they can get signposted and advice where they need them, and prevent crisis before it happens. And the moving of the library is one part of that, but also the whole community wraparound offer that exists as part of this is really, really important, both at Meadowbank, but then also at the Redwood Estate and at the Beavers Estate as well. So it's a real demonstration of how our community hub approach can be flexed and changed to suit the circumstances of the local area. And I really do commend all the work that has gone into this. And I know there's been a lot of work and a lot of drive from across Cabinet, but in particular you, Councillor Gurwal, as well. And I commend that and your team as well. So I can't see anyone else indicating. So the recommendations on this are on page 3125. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much. Right, we then move on to agenda item 5, the delivery plan monitoring for Q2, a report the Cabinet will be very aware of. This is our regular update on how we are doing against our very large ambition for the borough. Just to recap, there are 4 portfolios: people, place, capital and digital, and those are reported through this report. It's a format that Cabinet should now be used to. To say it again, and I say it every time, this is not about greenwashing everything. It's about an honest appraisal of where we are. Some of these projects reflect our ambition. In fact, all of them reflect our ambition, but some are slightly more difficult to deliver. They'll take slightly longer. They need more work doing on them. Some are slightly easier. We are seizing that opportunity despite the constraints that we have financially. So it's really, really important that we are transparent with our residents, not only about the ambition, but how we are performing against the performance benchmarks that we set to be able to deliver that. So I formally move it. Are you going to second it?
Yes, I will second this and reserve my right to speak.
Cool. It's been moved and seconded. It's now open for discussion and debate. Can I see anyone? Councillor Dunn.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, it's good to see this all set out as usual, and I know all cabinet members will be looking to see the progress of their own particular projects and make sure that it's accurately represented here. Not to go into loads of detail, but I do like to pull out at each meeting maybe just one project just to highlight, you know, some of the things that we're doing and how we're progressing with them. And so I've chosen this time the Inwood Park Cycle Hub, which is where we hold our all ability cycle sessions. And for people who don't know what that is the cycling provision that we provide funding for in order to enable people with physical or learning disabilities within the borough, adults or children, to be able to cycle, trying out a range of different bikes, whether that's tricycles, adapted bikes, side-by-side bikes, traditional tandems, hand cycles, a whole range of different bikes. We've never yet had someone who's turned up who we've not been able to get cycling, and that takes place in Inwood Park in the centre of Hounslow. There is a safe area within the park with a circular track that can be used. Now the track was getting a little bit old. It was getting a little bit bumpy to cycle around. So I can now confirm that that has been completely resurfaced. So the concrete part has been completely resurfaced with tarmac, and then there's a part with bricks that have been relaid. So it now provides a very smooth ride. There's been a new fence put in that separates it from the children's water play area. So again, safety first, very important. And I frequently go along to those sessions that are held every weekend, every Saturday, in the park there, to see the people who are benefiting from it. And it is absolutely fantastic to see. These are people very often who otherwise wouldn't get the chance to enjoy cycling or enjoy an activity such as cycling. And they come along with their family, carers, parents, who are equally, you know, happy with what's going on there. We had a wonderful day to celebrate the reopening with lots of people coming along. So just to pull out one of those things and illustrate it with a bit of life to show what one of the things that we're doing in the borough.
Yeah, that's really helpful, really good project, and I'm glad it's really smooth. I'm hoping you've tested it. Does it meet with your standard?
Are you going to give it a try?
Am I Yeah, we'll address that later. Councillor Thompson. Councillor Thompson.
Just say, Leader, when you give it a try, I'll bring my bike along too, and we can have a pedal together. Just, I suppose, in the nature of opposition, my eyes always go to the red. But actually, when I was sat in your seat, my eyes also went to the red. And just a couple of comments. So with the capital portfolio, you know, it's still a concern, isn't it? I think for all of us, there is this issue of not being able to get electricity to some areas where there are permissions granted. There is a plan that's been approved, and we just can't build the darn thing because we can't supply it, because we all know all those data centres have appeared over there somewhere. So I was really asking, you know, how active is the council? I know some work's been done with the GLA, but how proactive are we trying to get, you know, various electricity companies and boards to move on that one? And I suppose there's also, again, we've mentioned this before, there's quite a few ambers and reds in the digital portfolio, and obviously that is a concern to everybody. And I suppose I'm again asking the question: is that a case of, you know, we need more folks to make these things happen? Is it a case of training? Is it a case of, you know, new hardware, software? Is there a plan in place to really deliver? Because obviously, you know better than I do, that area is vital for residents and for the council to deliver on all its promises.
I'll take any more comments and then I'll come back to that in summing up. Councillor Thompson, is there anyone else on any of that? in which case I'm summing up. So on your first point, actually very active. We started the work as a council on energy capacity. So started those conversations very early. And actually there's not just work with the GLA, there's actually work sub-regionally as well with the WLA as well. And it's about bringing all those partners together. Obviously with the general election, a little bit of that momentum naturally got lost, but we are picking that back up with government because the solution is not just for the sub-region, it's for all of London, and I think the Mayor's office take it very, very seriously. There is an ask of government to bring the suppliers to the table as well. So as with these things, when you're talking about multi-parties, they are generally quite slow, but we are certainly at the table and we're certainly leading a lot of that conversation going forward. In terms of digital, I think this is simply a case of complexity. There is a lot in there, and often with digital, if you change something here, you need to change something over there as well. So those interdependencies and sequencing is really, really important. You know, of course, I will always say that we need to make sure that our people in the organisation have the most up-to-date training, but I'm confident of that. This is just about monitoring it, making sure that the plan is delivered, and when there is a hiccup, which invariably there will be, I don't expect everything to be perfect, that actually the knock-on effect of that is reflected in the way the plan carries forward. So whilst there may be a lot, I don't necessarily go by the volume of ambers, I have to be assured that the plan carries that through. Okay, there's no one else, so the recommendations on this are on page 77, 1 to 4. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much. Right, next report is also mine. This is the financial monitoring update, again for quarter 2, 2024. And in moving this does really set out the position across London. What has been over a decade of austerity, COVID, pandemic, and cost of living is really playing out in the finances. And so what I'm saying to colleagues around the table, for those who are watching online and in the audience, is that we have to carry on trying to drive down costs, carry out mitigations on service while still delivering the high quality of service that our residents expect. We are not unique in our position. In fact, we're probably a little bit more resilient than a lot of other London authorities. Of course, as with the last government, our ask of the new government is to fund local government, and there were some announcements in the budget, which I welcome, but obviously we can always go further than that, and that ask will carry on. I'm going to stop there. There are specific recommendations around the general fund and HRA, as well as the schools dedicated school grant as well, but I formally move this report.
And I second the report and reserve my right to speak.
Thank you, Councillor Bruce. It's now open for discussion and debate. Anybody on this one? Councillor Thompson.
I think this might be the last one. On page 49, it says that we lost 3.9 million on disposal of the council's previous investment in the Fidelity Multiple Asset Income Fund. Obviously, that doesn't look very good. I'm just wondering whether you could perhaps put that into context and maybe explain whether that was avoidable and whether we anticipate any further similar losses.
Sorry, Councillor Thompson. I think that's in the Treasury Management Report.
I'm in that. No, I'm on the. Apologies if I am. We're at item 6.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. So it's on page 49. It's in the summary report. Yeah.
Sorry, I can explain this. Actually, the copy that Councillor Thompson has been given doesn't have the appendices, so the page numbering may be out slightly.
Oh, right.
If within the report, Councillor, you just give the paragraph number.
Yeah. So it's agenda item. Apologies. Yeah, I've got the simple mind version for folks like me. So it's agenda item 6. It's in the report summaries, which is item 2, and it's the 4th point in the box. Does that make more sense to you?
So actually, this will be referenced more in the Treasury Management Report, but
Right.
it was an investment that we made through the pension fund that wasn't performing as well. So it was a case of cutting our losses at that point. We try and get out before things move adversely too quickly, but I think in this case there was a very quick movement against us, which actually prompted the review mechanism, which meant that we got out before it became even worse. So whilst it's regrettable that we lost 3.9 million, actually overall it was the right decision to protect the pension fund. Are there any other questions or comments? No, can't see anyone. So the recommendations on this are on page 165 to 166, A to J. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much. Right, agenda item 7, Hounslow Healthier Food Advertising Policy. Councillor Bath, over to you.
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Lily Bath, Cabinet Member for Adult Social Care, Public Health and Health Integration. So what I'm asking the Cabinet to do tonight is to approve that we adopt in Hounslow a healthier food advertising policy. That will be, it'll be the first time that we have a healthier food advertising policy in Hounslow, and it will relate to all council sites and advertising opportunities within the borough. So we're talking about council advertising channels and council-owned sites. So what do we mean about what is a healthier food advertising policy? What we really are saying is that we will restrict the advertising of any food that is high in fat, salt and sugar. And it's in the report, it's referred to HFSS foods. And those foods are deemed unhealthy, and how you assess whether a food is unhealthy is done through a particular formula, which is it's in the report. It's called the Nutrient Profiling Model Formula, and it's used by it's a protocol, a scientific protocol used to assess whether something passes the high fat, sugar and salt content. So why are we doing this? We're doing this because we have quite a lot of unhealthy marketing of foods in our borough. And it's also quite a lot of targeting of certain communities in our boroughs where we know we also have long-standing health problems. So, for example, we have we've got long-standing health problems around. We've got high obesity, adult obesity in the borough. We've got high cases of child obesity. I think we've spoken about this before, haven't we? We've got problems around oral health amongst our young children in our borough as well. So what we really want to do is to have a significant impact on our efforts to try and create a healthier borough. So this is one of the reasons that we are doing this. We also know that government is going to put in restrictions around advertising of unhealthy foods next year in October 2025. When that comes into place, we're going to be seeing a lot of companies will be using outside sites to advertise unhealthy food. So we want to try and mitigate against that by having that policy in place already. In this, we are also going to be including commercial baby foods, infant milk and formula milk. So at the moment, formula milk, infant milk for babies under 6 months is already banned under the legislation, but we will go that one step further, and baby foods and commercial baby foods that don't actually pass the test, we will restrict their advertising on our sites in the borough. So we also, by doing this, we hope that we'll be able to denormalise the consumption of unhealthy foods, which we also want to be doing. And of course, it fits in with our corporate priorities and our strategic priorities about making the borough a healthier place to live. It would also hopefully reduce the environmental impacts of waste created by the purchase of unhealthy foods. Also, there are around 14 local authorities already that have rolled this out, and the evidence so far seems to show that there's some quite positive outcomes from it. So, for example, in TfL in 2019 introduced this on their network, and an independent study showed that actually, as a result of it, this policy had an impact of creating healthier eating habits as a result. So I think this is a really good move forward. Obviously, it's in line with all of the wider work we do around making sure that we're trying to promote healthy eating and healthy habits, and we're doing this at no cost. So I'm asking for no money, but hopefully we will have really good outcomes from this, and particularly financial. We know that the cost of being unhealthy due to eating unhealthy foods can be very, very costly. So hopefully this is a good way forward. So basically, I'd like the Cabinet to approve that we adopt a healthier food advertising policy in Hounslow as is set in the recommendations in box 1 of the page. Happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Delighted you're not asking for any money. No, thank you, Councillor Bath.
I'm going to save you money.
Yeah, you're going to save me money. Councillor Sheehan, you seconding?
Yes, very, very happy to second that for the primary reason, and I really do welcome this move, particularly because I think right now we are facing a health crisis in the UK, in London, and particularly in Hounslow. We have the 4th highest rates of obesity and overweight adults in the capital. 61.7% of people in the borough are obese or overweight. We also see that we've got 23,000 people who've been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. It is nothing short of a health crisis, and we do have to intervene as best we can. And there are many different levers we can pull. Of course, through our leisure facilities and our leisure outreach programs, we are pulling some of those levers. Of course, we know that one of the greatest determinants of this is poverty as well, and we are doing targeted work to try and alleviate and improve health outcomes in those most deprived parts of the borough. But also, one of the most important levers that we can pull is education. That's both positive and negative, whether that's intervening to actively promote messages to promote healthy eating, healthy living, healthy cooking, or whether that's removing negative messages or messages that promote ways of eating, consumption patterns that are detrimental to the health of people in our borough. And this answers that key part. It's a very multifaceted scenario that we face trying to tackle these very serious health crises, but this is a key part of that, and I very much welcome this move to do so.
Thank you, Councillor Shaheen. It's now been moved and seconded. It's now open for discussion and debate. Councillor Thompson.
Sorry, I lied earlier. I just got one more. Just, I suppose, a couple of questions pop into mind, Councillor Bath. I'm just wondering how many advertising sites we actually have. I'm aware of many advertising sites in Hounslow. My suspicion is most ones I'm aware of that have these sorts of adverts are privately owned, so it may be not having a massive impact. I think symbolically what you're proposing is really important. Obviously, it's a small bit of a bigger jigsaw, and obviously the government needs to move forward, as the previous government were also faffing around with the issue of banning many of these adverts on television. Just on the issue of baby milk, there was a report last week by the competition body, whose name escapes me, and one thing they were saying was that the price of baby milk has shot up massively. Now, obviously, breast is best. My wife was very adamant on that, and we were able to, but it's not right for everybody, and some people do, for various reasons, need to use breast milk. But the price has increased by up to 30% in the last couple of years, and the report said that one of the issues is that they're not allowed to advertise, so consumers don't know what the cheapest brand is, and the report from the competitions body said that if there was more advertising, bizarrely, of baby milk prices, whether that's in the shop or on boards, I'm not quite sure, that might actually help families to save money. So all I'm saying is maybe just keep an eye on that area, and if these recommendations are brought forward. Maybe it's just one to have a ponder of whether that would be a way forward. But I do, having said all that, I do recognise the policy and the principle to promote, breastfeeding and not baby milk.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Well, we'll come back to you and summing up in just a second, Councillor Bath. If there is no one else, Councillor Bath, would you like to sum up?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Regarding council sites, I mean, you're right, this is just council sites. However, we know that we have quite a prolific rate of unhealthy advertising. Even so, for example, if we agree this policy, you won't be able to get a company to advertise on for example, some of our housing estates, unhealthy food. So I think in that sense, hopefully it will have an impact. I think one of the things that we're also trying to do is kind of denormalise what is unhealthy, because I think we sometimes we make an assumption about something being healthy, but actually when you look at the high fat, salt and sugar content, it's actually very unhealthy. So I think that is part of an education, and I think we need to be moving towards that. Regards to your questions about baby milk and formula, I mean, we're not sort of telling parents what they should be doing at the end of the day. I mean, it's up to, we know that, formula milk is sometimes substituted with breastfeeding. That happens. But I think in terms of, I think what we need to be doing really is trying to, on balance, promote breastfeeding rather than formula, because we don't need to promote formula or follow-on milk. You can go into any supermarket, can't you, and see what it is. But I think one of the issues for us is that sometimes follow-on milk is actually promoted as being healthy, and I think it's important that parents are aware of what is, and I think it's that piece, isn't it? It's not for us to tell parents what to do, but it's about really educating them. So actually, that isn't not as healthy, and have you thought? And we are doing quite a lot of work about, breast is best, because we know we've got to do a little bit better in Hounslow in terms of increasing our breastfeeding sort of rates. So there is a lot of work to be done, but I think just this little bit will hopefully have an impact into sort of improving the health. So, I mean, as Councillor Shaheen said, we do have some really chronic health issues in the borough. So, it's not to not do anything, I think it's not a good thing. But thank you for the question.
Thank you, Councillor Bath. So the recommendations on this report are on page 266, 1 to 3. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much. We're almost there, colleagues. Agenda item 8 is the Treasury Management mid-year report for 24-25. So this details all of our Treasury Management activity, that is our borrowing, our internal loans and our investments, and how they are performing. The strategy, as you know, colleagues, is set as part of our Treasury plan at the budget setting every February, and I'm pleased to report that none of the indicators set in that plan have been breached in the period that this is reporting. There's a lot of detail in there about the flow and move of money, and that is absolutely normal. It is normal for us to invest money to get a return. It's also normal for us to invest to other local authorities and other institutions on a short-term basis, as well as take borrowing from other institutions for short-term basis as well. So I formally move the report. Second it.
Yes, very happy to second it and reserve my right to speak.
Cool. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Anybody on this one? No, I can't see anyone indicating, so I'll move straight to the recommendations, which are on page 288, 11 and 12. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much, colleagues. Okay, I've not had any referrals from other council committees, and I've not had any urgent business. The date of the next meeting is the 17th of December at 7 p.m. Would someone mind moving exclusion of press and public? Councillor Barr, seconded by Councillor Chowdhury. Thank you. Is that agreed? Agreed? Good. Okay, so those watching at home, thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you got something out of it, and I bid you a good evening.